today we have with us an advanced certified QuickBooks ProAdvisor and a very detail-oriented bookkeeper. Her love for numbers led her to pursue a degree in mathematics, where she graduated magna cum laude in 2003. She's great at problem solving and loves helping her clients find solutions to what is troubling them most in their business. Please welcome Sarah Quiggle to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I feel like there is so much mystery around finances and so many small business owners that don't want to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I need some help. Can somebody help me out? And so this month we're trying to demystify a bunch of things regarding finances. And so I'm excited that you're here because we're really going to dive into QuickBooks and chat about so many different things. So I think one of the most important things that people don't realize about QuickBooks is that it's really easy to use. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yes, I would say it's very user-friendly, but I think sometimes people do get lost in the details of QuickBooks. And for one, the company is constantly updating and changing things, so that can also seem overwhelming to new users. But it really is. It's got everything at your fingertips. You can find almost anything in QuickBooks 4 different ways. And there's always the search bar up top. So yeah, it's very easy to use. And I love it as a program to help small businesses just get a grasp on their finances.
Well, and I think one of the best things about QuickBooks is that you can share it with your bookkeeper and your accountant, which I feel makes it so easy from both a business owner standpoint. What do you think from your side of it? Do you agree that it's like just makes things so much easier?
Oh, yes. So I am 100% virtual. So although I'm in Central Florida, I actually have clients all over the United States. And this allows me to do that. I'm not teleporting. I'm not going into anyone's computer. I have access to your books. But most importantly is what I tell my clients is that you have access to your books. I've heard too many stories of small business owners who have their books being handled by a CPA who then ghosts them and literally has all of their books like on a desktop somewhere. So that's one of the reasons, I just promote QuickBooks Online. It's all server-based, it's cloud-based. You can just access it from your phone, your tablet, your laptop, which is great for, the business owners of today. So I think that it's a really awesome platform.
And I know that there has been like some back and forth about things that you can do with QuickBooks. And like you said, like things are changing all the time, but is it really easy to import your bank transactions or your bank statements into QuickBooks Online?
Yes. And I want to say this is probably one of the biggest reasons for people who are starting out small business and maybe they're doing all their books on like an Excel spreadsheet, which is great. You may be able to do that for a while, but once you start getting busy and you don't have time to go through and remember all of the transactions that you have, all the purchases you made, what's nice about QuickBooks is it can directly link to your bank accounts, your credit cards, and it pulls all those transactions in. So me as a bookkeeper, I would go in and just categorize all of your transactions for you for the month. And so then all of your data is in QuickBooks. And so it's great to have that feature to be able to link up to your bank accounts.
Now, what are the chart of accounts that are most important? So let's say that we're just starting out. Like we know that we need someone to help us, but we don't really know where to start. We've heard this thing about chart of accounts. What are the ones that we should start with?
Well, it'll be different for every business, but a lot of it is very similar across businesses. And so when you say chart of accounts, people may not really understand what that is. And they're thinking, oh my gosh, this is already getting into lingo I don't understand. But you can just think of them as different buckets. So what you're going to, if you're spending money in advertising, then you can put that in your advertising bucket. If you're paying contractors, that would go in your contractor bucket. So basically your chart of accounts is just a list of all those different accounts. So technically, you're going to have bank accounts, credit cards as assets or liabilities in your chart of accounts. So you're also going to have some form of income account, and then you'll have all your expense accounts. So basic ones, like I said, advertising, marketing, meals, job supplies, office supplies, those are all pretty similar. And I want to say QuickBooks does start you out with a basic set of chart of accounts. So you're not starting totally fresh. But if you're probably able to Google as well, chart of accounts for your industry, and it's really easy to import a set of chart of accounts for your business.
Well, and I think most importantly too, that's something that you could help us with. So if we were like, hey, I'm that person that I know that I cannot do this on a Google sheet or a spreadsheet any longer, I need help. It's probably just as easy to reach out to you and say, hey, listen, this is my business. This is where I want to take it. Can you help me work through all those chart of accounts and all the stuff that I need to make sure that my business is running to its full potential, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I did just start a new subscription within the last week. And I've noticed that now QuickBooks is changing the amount of chart of accounts that they're starting you out with. So it is very basic. So I had to go in and now, so, within the last week, I've already created my spreadsheet now of what I'm going to import into all of my new subscriptions that I start for clients. So it is definitely something you could get a bookkeeper to help you with, to set it up and get everything ready for you.
I love that. It just takes the stress of like managing all that and passing it on to somebody else, but yet still having control, still being able to see everything I need to see so that way I can monitor it. What's the best way for people to double check stuff? Is there like a time frame that we should be jumping into QuickBooks Online because we're already working with a bookkeeper? Like, how do we follow up and make sure that things are being done correctly versus just handing it to someone and being like, okay, see you at tax time?
Yeah, well, if you are working with a bookkeeper, they should be giving you monthly reports. So hopefully every month you're sitting there and you're looking at your profit and loss. You're looking at your balance sheet. Another thing is your bookkeeper should be reconciling your accounts. And that is really important because you want to make sure that what's in QuickBooks matches what's in your bank account or your credit card. Because QuickBooks reports, they're going to base it on QuickBooks numbers. And if QuickBooks numbers are not correct, then your reports are, worthless. So that you always want to make sure that someone is reconciling against your statements, and to make sure that there aren't any glitches, that they didn't miss any transactions, and that everything is totaling up correctly.
Well, I will confess that part of the reason why I hired a bookkeeper was I was a banker for 10 years. The debits versus credits are backwards for me. And I don't know why I was on the struggle bus with that. So finally, I just made the decision. I just need a bookkeeper to help me with it because I am confusing myself and getting so frustrated. What are some easy things that you find that people are like, I don't know why I'm struggling with this, but I am, and I need your help? Is it the debit versus credit? Are there other things where you're like, yes, this is so many places that people struggle with?
Yeah, thankfully in QuickBooks, you don't have to know debits and credits to begin with. Now, I do as a bookkeeper because I'll go in and make journal entries. But thankfully, for people who are just new to QuickBooks, you don't have to know whether you're supposed to debit something or credit something, but you are familiar with those terms since you are a banker, and they can be opposite of what your first thought would be. But yeah, I think a lot of it is sometimes confusing. I see a lot of, payments on car loans that are on your profit and loss. They're expensed instead of going towards like a liability. You should have all loans for your business as a liability. Just transfers between your business accounts. Sometimes that gets a little iffy and people don't know how to handle that because they think, oh, is money coming in? Is it income? And it was just a transfer. And that's another thing, returns, when you take something back and you get money coming in, how do you categorize that? So there are just some different things that people struggle with. Yeah.
Is there like a typical kind of business that is best suited for QuickBooks, or can really anybody use it because it's just a massive program with so many different aspects?
Yeah, I would say it works best probably for service-based business. If you're selling a lot of products, you can definitely use QuickBooks. You just may want to work on your own inventory system. You may not want to use QuickBooks for the actual inventory aspect of it. I know that QuickBooks Desktop was actually suggested when you're doing heavy inventory tracking. But I know they're trying to phase that out and push everyone towards online. So that's my only hesitation with that. But just about every business, you're you're following the money. You're tracking all your expenses and your income from your bank accounts and credit cards. So you can do that in QuickBooks.
No, that's great. So tell me, do you have to use everything inside QuickBooks? Because I know that that program could probably launch the space shuttle, but can we pick and choose, or do you have to use all of it?
Oh no, you can definitely pick and choose. There's going to be some features that, maybe some larger businesses will want to take advantage of. They've got job costing, they've got budgeting, they've got these other features in the higher level subscriptions of QuickBooks. So it is subscription based, and you can go to different levels of how many features that you need. But a lot of people come to me and they say, hey, I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of this. And they're very simple businesses, and they're adding tags, and they're wanting to do, I'm just, if it will help you run your business, then yes, by all means. If it gives you the information that you need to run your business, then yes, do it. But don't feel like you need to overcomplicate your finances just because they have options to do so. So that's where I just want to don't make more work for yourself if it really doesn't affect any part of your decision making when it comes to leading and growing your business.
I think that there's the tendency for us as small business owners to really overcomplicate things when really it's just we could just keep it simple. Yes, we love to do all the things, but it's sometimes you don't need all that. Maybe it's just better to start with these simple things and then grow into it if you need to use it for that. That's awesome. So what are some other things that since you've been working with QuickBooks for so long, what are some other important things that you would say to a business owner about QuickBooks?
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna have to. So I would just encourage you not to be intimidated by it. That I offer training as well through my business. And that is great, especially for new business owners who aren't ready to outsource bookkeeping, but are just overwhelmed by QuickBooks in general. So I can walk you through. We do screen share, record videos. So that's really helpful, but I just want to let my clients know that that it's all going to be okay, and that you don't need to worry about just feeling so overwhelmed. I've had clients who come to me and they don't even want to look at their numbers. They're so scared, and that they're finally coming to me just at a moment of just pure vulnerability and just saying, I don't want to look at my numbers, but I know it has to be done. And so, I'm able to go in there, clean everything up, get them ready. And then they see, and sometimes they're pleasantly surprised, but sometimes it just starts that new conversation of where do I want to be and how do I get there? And if you don't know where you are right now, it's so hard to go where you want to go. So I just, don't be afraid of the numbers.
Well, and that probably makes it super intimidating too, when you're I know this is something that I need to be doing, but I'm scared. I'm nervous of what my numbers could be. And so having you there to hold their hand through that process, I feel just must take a weight off their shoulders. And like you said, it's probably not as bad as you think it is. And it might actually be even better than you think it is. What's the best way for people to connect with you if they're I need some help with this? I'm totally interested in taking those classes. Where can people connect?
I would just lead people to my website, horizonwestbookkeeping.com. You can go on there. You can schedule a free 15-minute consult over Zoom with me right there on my website. And then we just can connect and see if I am able to help them with their business or see what their bookkeeping needs are. I'm always available to answer questions, and I just love helping people. I love learning about all different kinds of businesses and just where people are at, and just helping with what I can do.
Well, and I love too that there is that open line of communication, because you're right. This stuff can be really confusing if you're not used to it. And so being able to have access to jump on a call with you and just say, hey, listen, I'm stumped on this. What do I need to do, is just an awesome resource. And I'll be sure to link that website in the show notes as well, so people can find it really quickly. Now, one thing that I ask every single podcast guest is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a small business owner?
Well, since I am a bookkeeper, I'll stick with finances. And I think my number one piece of advice then is to keep personal and business separate. There are always going to be one-off mistakes where you pick up the wrong credit card, and that is totally fine. But just to, help with legal reasons, you just want to keep it separate and to not make bookkeeping a nightmare. So just keep it separate. It's easy to do, and just try your best.
Oh, I love that, because you're right. It is. There's so many times when I talk to people and they're like, well, I can't remember what I did in January of the previous year, but it's like, we got to figure out what these transactions are. I mean, so much easier to keep them separate. And you don't necessarily have to have this huge creation of an organization. You could just have a separate bank account, right?
Yeah. And I definitely encourage people to get a business bank account. However, if you are just starting out, just open a personal check. Just only use it for business. Even that would just make it so much easier. And then when you can transition to a business bank account, it's very easy to do. There's a lot of online banks right now too that it's very easy to open an account.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.